Hey friends, it's fall, and fall when you're an herbalist means that you need to harvest lots of plants before the frost comes. So we're at the end of October right now, and the frost will be coming soon. So I spent the past weekend harvesting a bunch of things. So this is some of our spirea. I still have to finish processing the evening primrose, which is the hardest to process. It takes forever. I have a past video on how I use a mortar and pestle to break up the pods, but it's very time consuming, and you can watch that video if you want. It's a great plant. It grows profusely. It has very potent medicine, but it is very time consuming to process. So what we're doing today is actually, I was in my walk-in closet, which is my apothecary. I was looking for some wormwood because I reached out to a homeopathic herbalist, gardener. I think I'm using the right words. Yeah. And I said how bad the squash borers were this year, and that we still have them. It's the end of October. And so it takes a month to hear back because he's overseas. And so he advised me to make a mother tincture with wormwood, which is sweet Annie, which I have growing on the property. It's also really great to kill parasites in animals and in people, but you have to be careful and mindful when you're using tinctures. Homeopathics are a lot safer, and you could drink a whole bottle of homeopathic, nothing would happen to you. If you drank this whole bottle of wormwood, you would die. So you need to know what you're doing when you're practicing herbalism or any sort of plant medicine. It's not something that I advise people to do if they don't have proper education or working with a proper accredited herbalist who is experienced. So what we're going to do today is I made some up of our Bye Bye Bad Juju, which is very popular. You can find it in the Etsy shop, Violet's Bewitching. This is a tincture that I made from all the plants growing on my property that are very protective and also increase the energetic vibe, the energetic frequency of the environment. So the reason I grow these plants is to keep higher energetic frequency on my property to abundantly support the other plants that I'm growing that I use for medicine and food, as well as you can make tinctures out of these plants, right? And that's what I did. So this is full moon water. I used to add vodka to it, but now that I sell it, I use witch hazel. And that's to make it a little more shelf stable, but it needs to be used, pretty quickly because it is only in a water tincture. You could use it, keep it in the fridge, and that would prolong it. But you want to keep it out of sunlight and away from heat. And so what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be straining this. And also we have some cleaver oil that I've been processing, and I'll be straining this one as well. So the way that I make infused oils, so I used to do it the old school way of packing a jar with dried material and then adding, organic olive oil to the top, leaving on a sunny window for 30 days and letting the oil slowly pull the plants out. And then I took a class with Cami McBride, who is an herbalist. She's been an herbalist for about 30 years, and I learned her method, which actually works a lot better, and that's the method I've been using the past year, in that it's quicker, it's more efficient, and it's actually, the oils last longer. So her method is to do 2 ounces of dried herbs powdered. You then add 1 ounce of vodka to that. You let it sit overnight, and then once that is done, you add 7 ounces of organic oil, or the oil of your choice, to each 1 ounce of dried herbs that you started with. So I started with 2 ounces of cleavers, I added 1 ounce of vodka, and then I've added 14 ounces of organic olive oil, and then you blend it 5 times for the next 2 days. So my jars do not fit. I don't have an old school blender, that's what she uses, so I use the immersion blender, and it works out well as long as you have a wide mouth jar. It does kind of make a mess, so I do keep it on a plate and a paper towel, but we will be siphoning out that today. So first I will strain it through the spider into a jar, and then I will take that and do a secondary through a funnel with a coffee filter. I have the unbleached coffee filters. You could also use cheesecloth, and it takes a long time to come out. So I'll show you the process as we get a little bit closer. So I'm going to blend it one more time, and then we'll get started. So I just want to add a little caveat when you are using fresh plant material, which is what I use for this tincture, is mostly fresh plant material. So it's fresh lemongrass, fresh sage, fresh mugwort. It was dried juniper berries, dried nettles, and I use pink salt because salt is very protective as well. You do not want to press down on this because fresh herbs have water in them, and I don't want to add more water to my tincture. I don't want that because it's more likely to mold. So I'm just going to loosely move this around, and I'm not going to press on it. So that's a mistake a lot of people make when they're doing fresh oil infusions or fresh tinctures, is they want to get most of the liquid out, so then they squeeze it thinking they're doing themselves a favor, and then they wonder why in a month everything has gone moldy. So again, I had to learn the hard way. So this is why I do these videos, so that you don't have to learn the hard way. You can just watch and know that it doesn't need to be done that way. So this is the remaining liquid we have. So this full moon water has been infused with all of these properties, the protective, high energetic vibes of these plants. You could use whatever you have growing around you. I prefer mugwort and nettles because they're very protective. The lemongrass also gives a nice lemony smell to it. And so this blend works for me and people like it. I also then add cedarwood oil to it. But again, you can find this for sale on my Etsy shop, Violet's Bewitching. If you don't want to make it yourself, you don't have to. Find people that you know that make it well, right? So we've got our cleaver oil here. Just gonna give it one more processing. So what I've found by doing it this way is that the oil is more potent, but it's also richer in that it has more of all of the flavonoids and super active potencies of the plant incorporated into the oil since we're blending it. Again, if you have an old school blender, you can do that. I found the immersion blender to work out really well, and that's the preferred method that I use. Again, it you know, kind of gets a little messy, so you want to have a paper towel or whatever you choose around. And some of it gets stuck inside the immersion blender, which you want to have the immersion blender unplug before you stick your fingers in there. And I use dried material, but I also don't want, because it got rehydrated with the vodka, and because alcohol pulls a lot more herbal properties out of the plants than oil, which is why I believe she does that, as well as it helps to preserve the end product using the alcohol. You could use whatever alcohol you want. I use vodka because that's what I use for my tinctures, and we don't drink, so that's the only alcohol we have in the house. So again, you could take her class and see what other ones to use. I believe she suggests only vodka though too, and you know, there's a reason for that. So as I said, I'm going to do a double strain on the oil because with the bombs, you don't want any plant material whatsoever being left in your bombs. I want it to be as smooth as possible, as potent as possible. And again, to make the bomb, I would just add beeswax, and then I add essential oils. I like Plant Therapy. They have organic oils. They also are not a multi-level marketing. Anybody can buy from them. So I believe that medicine should be available to everybody. So whether or not you make it yourself, whether or not you find somebody you trust that makes it for you, I think it's important to understand that there are other things that you can do besides take pharmaceuticals to support your health, to support your body, and that your body recognizes plants over medication, over all these chemicals that we're told are food, all of these chemicals and toxins that we're told are to help us. Your body doesn't need that help. It needs help from things it recognizes, which is real food, plants, homeopathic remedies, high energetic frequencies, Mother Nature. This is what we want to surround ourselves with. And so that's our quick tutorial today in the kitchen. Hope to see you next time, friends.